Coming up next on 13 ABC, Action News at 5.
After so much focus on the snow, the worry suddenly turns to flooding, and one riverfront community is bracing for something bad.
You always want your water to run away from the house.
And the frozen ground beneath all that melting snow means only one thing for a lot of homeowners: basement flooding.
The oldest water main in the city breaks, and now an entire road might need to be replaced.
Well, before the main flooding threat begins to move in, we have a chance of freezing rain late tonight into tomorrow. Details on that with Predictor.
But we start with breaking news. The entrance ramp to US 23 from Monroe Street is closed tonight after a deadly crash. Within the past few hours, a vehicle hit and killed a pedestrian.
13 ABC's Melissa Veitch live on the scene gathering the latest information at this time. Melissa.
Well, Leon, Diane, let me start with what's happening right now. If you look right behind me, 23 southbound, right at the Monroe Street exit, is virtually at a standstill. And that goes back for miles. Now, as you mentioned, what we know of what happened right now is that a person was walking, a man, walking on 23 southbound. I'm going to take Chris around here because you'll see all the traffic back up. But if you take a look down there, right as you get on to 23 southbound, we've got some semis that are at a standstill. Right at that point, a man was hit and killed. Don't know why he was walking on 23 South, but at this point, 23 southbound at the Monroe Street exit is closed. And you can see down there on the exit ramp, police are rerouting traffic from 23 South on the Monroe Street exit, and they're coming and going on Monroe Street. A lot of people are taking Haroon Road, it looks like, over to Holland, Sylvania. So that area is backed up as well. And then Monroe Street is backed up in both locations. But again, what we know now is that the man was hit and killed. Don't know why he was walking on 23 southbound. Police are investigating. They have that shut down. And behind me, as you can see, 23 southbound is a parking lot. For now, reporting live, Melissa Veitch, 13 ABC Action News.
Okay, Melissa, thank you. Well, for weeks it was snow, and some more snow.
And now the melt. With the chance of rain on the way, we are tracking the risk of flooding all throughout the area. 13 ABC making sure that you're prepared ahead of thunderstorms and even flooding. Our team of meteorologists and reporters tracking the very latest for you tonight. Ross Ellett is in Findlay. Our Ben Cathy is in Grand Rapids. And our team of meteorologists, as we said, tracking that chance of flooding.
Chief Meteorologist Jay Burschbach has the latest on the impending rainfall, but a beautiful day today, Jay.
Yeah, really not bad out there. We actually had our warmest temperatures after midnight. We had temperatures after midnight in the 40s, and now we're in the upper 30s and lower 40s. Taking a look here at live Doppler 13,000 HT, still upper 30s, lower 40s. We are rain-free for tonight. It's tomorrow morning during the morning drive when that dreaded wintry mix begins to move in. But now let's talk about the amounts of rainfall we're expecting. More on that ice possibly here in a few minutes. But here's the rainfall totals. Watch Predictor. This is mainly for tomorrow morning into tomorrow night. And it looks like the heaviest stripe of rain just near and north of Hillsdale, Michigan into southeast Michigan. So most of northwest Ohio, 3/4 of an inch to a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more as you head northward, but the heaviest with this system just missing off to our north, South Bend, Kalamazoo, and Lansing, Michigan. Now, in addition to our rain threat, which is moderate at this time, it's the flooding. It's the snow on the ground, the ice on the ground combined with the rainfall. Have to watch for that ice jamming as well. Freezing rain, a little bigger threat early tomorrow, and behind this system, we're talking Thursday night into Friday, it's going to become very, very windy. More on that chance of ice, more on the wind, and I'll have your 7-day forecast in a few moments. Stick around.
And the potential for flooding is a concern for the village of Grand Rapids. Happens just about every year at this time of the year. It's a common spot for ice jams, but they're rarely this big. Meteorologist Ben Cathy joining us live in downtown Grand Rapids tonight. Ben.
When we got to Grand Rapids this morning, trailers full of furniture were heading to higher ground, and sandbags were already beginning to line local business doors. People here, they're worried.
The ice, if it starts moving, nothing stops it. It just goes through everything it wants to.
That's Dave Barrett. We first introduced you to him about a month ago. In that time, the ice hasn't changed much, but his thinking has. Barrett's been here for 23 years, and he rides out almost all floods. After staying, he now has his things packed.
Yeah, I'll probably be watching the river, waiting for the cracks and stuff like that, and I'll probably be leaving here about the first time it starts cracking.
The ice jam goes almost all the way to the bottom of the Maumee and extends miles upriver from the Grand Rapids Dam. Today's quiet likely won't last much longer. Ice jams come with a violent soundtrack.
Like a train, you hear the large cracks, and then you just hear a rumble, just a roar. It starts going down.
Wow.
I've only experienced that 2 or 3 times, but it's a thought. You don't want to be standing down here when it goes.
Tina Hohenberger manages the Savvy Avenue consignment shop. Since they've been in Grand Rapids, they haven't seen bad flooding.
But in 1959, they had 16 inches of water in this building. The ice looks pretty much like it did in 1959, so we're just being proactive and stacking everything up on brick and moving a lot of it out.
Now, eventually, all that ice has to move closer to Toledo. So we talked to the Army Corps of Engineers today, and they've actually been talking to Canadian ice cutters. You might see even a few Canadian ice cutters in the Toledo harbor itself. Reporting in Grand Rapids, I'm meteorologist Ben Cathy for 13 ABC Action News.
And now to another city where residents are keeping an eye on what's to come. Residents already prepping in Findlay, and that's where we find 13 ABC's Ross Ellett.
We're live here in Findlay at this point, and we are continuing to see some warmer conditions just like everybody else around the area. Snowpack down. Blanchard River back behind me at this point, still ice covered right now, and some from earlier today showing that the water level only at about 1.5 feet at this point. But once you continue to melt down that snow and add some extra rain on top of it, that will quickly continue to rise for later on tomorrow into the later part of this coming week. At this point, the National Weather Service still expecting some minor flooding with the potential for some moderate flooding. So this looks like, at this point, not a huge deal, but something that has to be watched very carefully. As for the ice jam potential, there's not been an ice jam on this river since 1959, but officials watching that very closely as well. We'll have a complete wrap-up for you tonight at 6 o'clock. We're now reporting in Findlay. Ross Ellett, 13 ABC Action News.
And the winter of 2014 dumping so much snow, looking at a potential all-time record over the next couple of weeks. The biggest problem facing homeowners, basement flooding from all that melting snow surrounding the house. 13 ABC's Melissa Bates once again showing us how to limit the damage.
The snow and water will not leak into this basement. It's getting waterproofed, but you don't have to go to this extreme to protect your basement from flooding. A few easy steps will get you started. Kevin Ullman says grab your shovel.
Dig out 3 to 4 to 5 foot, just get that snow away.
Ullman says getting it away from the side of the wall is critical.
Because there's a sill plate under there as well, where the house sits on top of the wall, and it will leak in there.
That takes care of the most immediate threat, which is the surface water. But as the spring thaw sets in, you'll need to address the groundwater. The soil running the length of the basement walls gets saturated and creates what's called hydrostatic pressure.
One of the biggest demises of foundation issues is hydrostatic pressure. It just finds the smallest and the tiniest holes or entry points and works its way in.
To protect against that, make sure your interior drainage system is working and running smoothly into your sump pump. You know, a lot of people's sump pumps have been very quiet during the winter months, so if you're wondering if it's going to work when we get some of the flooding kick in, just take a bucket of water and pour it in. If it kicks on, you're good to go. But after that, go outside. Make sure the discharge pipe is clear of any snow and ice. While you're checking that, take a look along the foundation to make sure the water will be running away from the house. If it's not, you might want to put that on your spring project list. Melissa Bates, 13 ABC Action News.
And stay with 13 ABC for continuous coverage of this flooding risk. Our storm team will track the incoming storm all night long and keep you updated on air and on 13abc.com, Facebook, and Twitter. Train operations are back up and running after a derailment earlier this week. This happened in Tontogany Monday night on Main Street. 19 cars went off the tracks, damaging the Washington Township Fire and Maintenance departments. A CSX spokesperson says all the cars have been cleared from the scene. Operations resumed at 4:30 this morning, and the company's still looking into a cause of the accident. I-475 is clear after a 6-vehicle crash this morning. It happened on the bridge over the Maumee River. Luckily, only one person suffered a minor injury. Traffic was backed up, though, for a little over an hour. The highway reopened by noon.
Water main break this morning, a big one, causing traffic trouble tonight. A section of Broadway near Hawley is shut down. The road flooded. Now the entire street may have to be replaced. 13 ABC's Christina Williams has the story.
This is what Broadway Street looks like today, a gaping hole that's bound to get larger in the coming days.
It looked kind of scary, that big old hole.
Last night, a water main break flooded the street, leaving cars underwater.
What time was it? About 11:30. We noticed the pressure going low.
Turns out it's the oldest main in Toledo, 1873.
So many water breaks this year, man. It's unreal.
James Smith manages apartments on Broadway.
We noticed that road a couple weeks ago start buckling. Like a dip. I said, well, it's going to form a sinkhole or something.
No sinkhole yet, but more than 8 million gallons of water was on the road last night. The Public Utilities Commissioner says driver safety could be in jeopardy. Not only does the main need to be fixed, the entire roadway might need to be rebuilt.
The street may be passable on one side, or at least open to one lane, but it's not going to be something you're going to be utilizing. I think it's undermined completely.
Just to give you an idea about how much water we're talking about, the city is using Danny Thomas Park as an area to drain out those millions of gallons. And if you take a look up this hill, you can see at one point the waters were halfway up.
So what's next? The water department is working to fix the break. Then the engineers will try to determine if the road is safe and just how much needs to be replaced. Because as Toledo knows all too well, when a main leaks and then breaks, water underground can lead to major problems. In Toledo, Christina Williams, 13 ABC, Action News.
What a mess. And again, Broadway is closed tonight from Hawley down to Stebbins. No word when it will reopen traffic. Coming up tonight on Action News at 6, 13 ABC's Alexis Means uncovers just how many water main breaks the city of Toledo has had to deal with this year. Well, still to come here on Action News at 5. It fell short of that big fundraising goal.
The United Way of Greater Toledo hoping to make up for it. That's coming up next in our Blade Briefing.
And truly, some of the lowest of the low here. Scammers taking advantage of an environmental disaster to cash in.
This is 13 ABC Action News with Diane Larson and Lee Conklin.